Hello everybody, I'm John King and I'm joined in the studio here with two of my very good friends. I have Brian Owens and Johnny Lee Memphis. So Johnny, can you tell the people at home a little bit about what it is that you do and just introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, my stage name is Johnny Lee Memphis, and I've been an Elvis tribute artist now for about 12 years, and I'm still doing it now. It's been my profession now. That's all I do for about 2 years, and I'm still enjoying it. Yeah.
When did you first discover that you could sing?
Well, it wasn't me that really discovered it. It was my primary four school teacher, and what happened was it was a skills day or talent day. So a lot of the kids were doing like poems, or they were doing magic tricks, they were doing different stuff, and there was only one person that was singing, and that was me. I was surprised. I thought there'd be more people singing. So I got up in front of the class and I sang one of my dad's favourite songs by Dion, and it's The Wanderer. So I remember standing there singing it, and the kids were getting into it, and then the teacher would tell me afterwards that, "Wow, John, I never knew that you could sing." And at the time I really didn't know, I just like sang along to myself. So yeah, that was probably my first memory of being sort of recognised as being able to actually sing.
Obviously Elvis has been one of your major musical influences, but who was your other main influences growing up?
I love listening to all kinds of music, but it's funny enough, the irony of this is, Elvis is what I do now, but I liked when I was a kid Shakin' Stevens, and Shakin' Stevens was influenced by Elvis. And I liked a lot of like rock music only because I was exposed by that, because my dad would listen to different stuff, different music like that. So it's a wide variety of music I've been listening to.
So when was your first performance?
My first performance was in front of the neighbours in the street. Me and my sister were asked to do a performance as Bucks Fizz. Making your mind up. It was a Eurovision Song Contest that was on right about that time, and I remember doing that in front of the neighbours in the street. It was quite funny. And but first actual performance, it's hard to really say what you would justify as your first actual musical performance, because karaoke came in when I was older. But I'd say it was probably singing Robbie Williams on a karaoke would be my first kind of singing performance in public.
So when did you realise that you sounded like Elvis, or could sound like Elvis?
Right, well, it was one of these things where I got into a band called Mojo Rising, and we would do stuff like Paul Rodgers, Black Crowes, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, all that kind of classic rock stuff. And I only knew two Elvis songs at the time. It was Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto. And I was like, well, let's do a couple of Elvis songs. So we rocked up a version of Suspicious Minds, and somebody came up to me and says, "You actually sound a bit like Elvis." So to kind of cut a long story short, I was in Cyprus on holiday, me and my partner Wendy, and we met this guy that was selling a jumpsuit and wig and all the gear and stuff. So we decided, right, we'll buy it and we'll incorporate it in the act. So when I said to my mate Steve that played guitar, let's try, adding a bit of Elvis flair into the show. Mm-hmm. So we did the first half of the show, we'd take a break, and during the break I would get the Elvis gear on, and I would come out and do like the three Elvis songs that I would know at the time. There's Burning Love, Suspicious Minds, I might do In the Ghetto, and then we would stop.
Was it originally intended as like a comedy sketch?
Well, it was probably, the first couple of times it was probably seen as a little bit of a comedy about how I looked at the time. But
especially until I get there.
Exactly. I mean, the look wasn't kind of what I kind of go for now. I mean, I've not got any of my hair done or my makeup on now, obviously, but at the time it was kind of like put the glasses on and stuff and just make the best of it, really. And it was only 3 songs I would do. But what would happen is the repeat gigs I would get, I'd go back and we'd decide, right, I'm not going to do Elvis this night, we're just going to stick with the rock and blues stuff. But then what would happen is, I would come back on to do like the blues stuff and the rock stuff, and somebody would shout, "Hey, whoa, where's Elvis tonight?" And I'd be like, well, he's missed his flight for Memphis. But that's where I brought my wife and our sister and our mum, because we're like Elvis. And I'd be like, nah, but we'll probably sing a couple of songs and then just try and kind of pacify them that way, but then get back into the show. So me and Steve, we decided eventually to keep it separate, and I would work on my Elvis repertoire and try and build things for there.
You obviously take what you do quite seriously. I imagine early on it was more like just like a comedy skit, and then gradually got more and more serious as it went along, and eventually, took over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I say comedy, I mean, I want to obviously one thing straight. I'm an Elvis fan first and foremost, and I would never sort of like take the mick or anything. But at the beginning, I always had a bit of comedy. Elvis added a lot of comedy in his show, and he never took himself too seriously. I mean, when he was singing, and it was connected emotionally, and it was great. But a lot of the time, in between songs, he would do a lot of kind of comedy stuff and have a laugh with the band. So that's the kind of attitude I'd like to have on stage. I like to keep it light, keep the humour going, and don't take yourself too seriously, so that you can engage the audience. That's the angle I was trying to get.
What was the one you did where you laughed all the way through the song?
I know the one you're talking about. That would have been "Are You Lonesome Tonight?"
Aye, that's the one.
And he changed the words to "Do you gaze at your doorstep?" He changed it to "Do you gaze at your bald head?" And then that was it. It was gone. And he couldn't stop. He couldn't stop laughing all the way through the song. And I think a lot of the songs, he found out early on that if he could show how much he was enjoying himself on stage, the audience really could connect with that. The audience he could see that he got a better connection with the audience when he looked like he was enjoying himself. Everybody else enjoyed themselves.
The thing about Elvis is he had a great ear for a song.
Aye.
Because a lot of people probably know that "Are You Lonesome Tonight" goes back to 1920s. Al Jolson.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elvis popularised it, and it's just like everybody knows it now because of Elvis.
Absolutely, yeah.
And people, I know David Bowie gave Elvis a song called "Golden Years," which is a great song, but Elvis didn't like it. So he never recorded it. But if you listen to David Bowie, "Golden Years" is with what. You can imagine Elvis and the band getting into that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he had a great ear for songs apart from "Golden Years." That was
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a song like "Love Me Tender" was taken from a song called "Ora Lee," right? When you listen to the melody and stuff. And I was doing a gig at the McRobert Arts Theatre one time, and I remember standing on stage, and I was telling this story. I was saying, right, this next song was taken from the song, and I pronounced it wrong because I'm trying to do an American accent, right? I'm Ora Lee, and there's a guy in the front row saying, "It's Ora Lee," right, correcting me. And then all the way through the show, I just kept like referring to this guy. Okay, this next song was written by a guy called Tony Joe White. Is that correct? And he would go, "Man, that's right." No, but you're right. He used to get thrown loads of different songs and ideas because if Elvis recorded it, it was going to be a winner.
I know he didn't write many songs at all, but he had definitely a good ear for a melody and a lyric. Yeah.
Absolutely, it was melodies that he loved. He fell in love with a melody, and then that was it. He just connected with the song. You're absolutely right, and he was able to take a song and make it his own. You know what I mean? When you've got songs like "You've Lost That Love and Feeling" is a great example. The Righteous Brothers. And then for him, he'd take that song and then just take it to a whole other level. It really made the song his own. It was fantastic.
There's obviously thousands of Elvis tribute artists, from all over the world. What do you think of these guys?
Well, I think you've got a varying range of people's experience. I'll say, right. You've got kind of hobby Elvis guys that maybe they work during the day, but they're Elvis fans first and foremost, and they want to get involved. They want to pay their respects to Elvis by doing what they do. And they may not be the most experienced guys, right? And some people may think that they're not showing Elvis in a good light. But what I need to sort of let everybody know is that the people get offended by some guys that portray Elvis in the wrong light. For example, if it's a overweight person in a jumpsuit and things like that, right? I mean, I just see that as a guy wanting to pay his respects and do what he can. But Elvis fans should recognise, that some guys are not really the best at it, but they want to do their bit. But on the other end of the spectrum, you've got guys that are professional at it, who really hone their art. Guys like Cody Ray Slaughter, Dean Z. There's other guys I could mention that are close friends of mine, but if I mention one, I need to mention them all, right? So I'm not going to get started on that. It's great that they're keeping the music and legacy alive. You've got one group of Elvis fans that are like, Elvis, that's it, nothing else. I'm not interested in ETAs, but Elvis tribute artists. That's what ETA stands for. You've got, I just want to see Elvis and that's it. You've got other Elvis fans who, they love Elvis, but they're quite happy to sort of embrace what the ETAs are doing, the Elvis tributes are doing. And so I can appreciate both camps because the people that are die-hard fans for Elvis, they don't want to hear anybody else. That's their opinion and that's what they want to do. But also just live and let live. You know, I would say let people pay their respects to Elvis, perform as Elvis, but realise that, I mean, you've maybe got the minority, 1 or 2% of guys that are disrespectful to Elvis when it comes to the way they perform or whatever. But you've just got to really, if you're an Elvis fan, just, you know, let it wash over you and let them do what they're doing, but always remember who Elvis really was, you know what I mean?
So what makes a good Elvis tribute artist?
Well, it's not really as complicated as some people might think. A good Elvis tribute artist is somebody who can really study Elvis and really, not just about how it sounds, but who he is as a person. You've got to appear like you're really wanting to engage with the audience, have a good stage presence, and you know, he had an amazing voice, you know, so obviously that's a big part of it. So you've got to concentrate and practice, and listen to yourself back. Take feedback well. Don't listen to somebody saying, "Oh, listen, you need to do this," and then, you know, retract for it and then just go into your shell. You've got to take constructive criticism, use that to your advantage, and then try and better yourself. Because I'm still learning. I mean, I'm always learning. I'll never think that that's me. I've made it. But you've got to really hone your art. Watch it. Get back to basics. Watch Elvis and DVDs. Listen to him, and just keep taking criticism from people that have maybe had that experience. I'm not going to say just like myself, but other guys that are in the business that could maybe help you out and get some feedback and work on it.
What era of Elvis's life do you perform as, or is it multiple eras that you do?
Well, up until probably 4 or 5 months ago, I just concentrated on the 70s era. It was always going to be like from 1970 through to 77. That was where my voice lends itself to. But up until recently, I've been trying to make it a bit more interesting for myself. I've been doing the 50s, the movies, the leathers, and the 70s all combined to have a complete show going through the decades of his career. But I favour the 70s because I think he was really dynamic, especially in 1971, 72 on tour. He seemed to really kind of really become even more confident than he'd ever been on stage, his live performance. I think that's why that transcends better for me than what happened before. But I'm trying to incorporate all the great songs like Shake, Rattle and Roll and Good Rockin' Tonight that were never in my repertoire, but I'm adding them in now, but I'm still learning. But yeah,
well, his voice changed there, wasn't it? The early Sun records.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot different, even in that just 10, 12 year period. Eh?
Absolutely, yeah. His voice was kind of like a higher pitch in the 50s and stuff. And when you asked him in the 70s in an interview, he would say, you know, man, there's a lot of echo on them records. You know, he used to
amazing bass players. I mean, they listen to my girl's best friend, a friend of my best girl.
Girl of my best
friend. I think the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bass notes in that. I mean, it just resonates. Your speakers like it's brilliant sounding.
Yeah, he had a massive. That's the thing. Talking about singing, he had a massive respect for low voice bass singers,
which very rarely gets mentioned. It's always like a high singing, you've got range and all this, but the bass is really very important.
And he was probably the only person I've ever known that really highlighted the bass singing, like in his famous song that he covered for Ray Charles, "I Got a Woman." He kind of converted that song into bringing J.D. Sumner in, and he should bring him right down. I think it was a low. Was it a low E? I think it was. Was it a low C? I can't remember the note, but you should take him right down low and bring it back up. And he had a big respect for low voice singing. Yeah.
So you've obviously got quite a lot of costumes. Just how many do you actually have?
Combined through all the years, I mean, I've got 11 jumpsuits, right, and then over the top of that, I've got the leathers, and I've got 3 50s and 2 movies. So I've got 20, 22, something like that, costumes altogether. Yeah.
But not all in one night.
Not all in one night. No, I might go for 4 in one night. 4 in one night, plenty. I've not got a wardrobe assistant yet.
So, do you have a favourite Elvis song?
Getting asked the question if you've got a favourite Elvis song is a bit like asking you what do you fancy for your dinner tonight, right? Depends on what mood you're in, because you know, you've got if you like Indian or if you like something at the chip shop, you know, it depends on what you're into. But what always comes top for me is a song called "It's Only Love," and it's just the lyrics in that song really hit home. And I love his gospel music as well, but if it's one song I have to choose, I'd say It's Only Love, because I get a bit of a nostalgia feeling when I think about that, because my Aunt Helen is the one that got me into doing Elvis, and she was always playing like Elvis tunes whenever we were up there. She was babysitting for us, and that song was always one I could remember, It's Only Love.
So finally, on the AbsoluteElvis.com website, you can also pick up Johnny Lee Memphis live DVDs, which, Johnny, can you tell us a little bit about what's on here? And
Sure. Well, on this DVD we've got clips from a couple of different shows. I think the Falkirk Town Hall with the full show, and the Alloa Town Hall. I think we're on that one there. Different snippets. There's special editions, bonus features, which incorporate the gospel choir that we hired in for the Falkirk Town Hall, and Alloa, which is got to be like one of my favourite gigs of the year. It's like a home to.
so you can visit AbsoluteElvis.com where you can pick up these DVDs. They've got several different songs taken across multiple different concerts, and we also have a bonus section which features a segment where you can find out a little bit about the band, and bonus performances as well, including some duets with Andrew Carlin and Juan Lozano. My other guest today is Brian Ovens. Brian, can you introduce yourself and tell the people at home a little bit about what it is that you do?
Yeah, I'm definitely Brian Ovens. And I do a lot of close-up magic. I love magic in general. I love stage stuff, illusions, mentalism, whatever you want to call it. But the close-up magic's my favourite kind of magic, so that's what I perform basically.
And how long have you been performing magic?
Well, I used to live in Ayrshire in the 1970s, and I went to school. I lived in West Kilbride, but I went to school in Ardrossan, so I had to go to Ardrossan Academy. In the library there was obviously there was books, but one of the books was a magic book, the only magic book actually in the library. So I had a look at it, took it home, and I just started flicking the pages, got some cards, Waddington cards, which I'll come back to, I'll tell you a story about them in a minute. So I practiced for there, but I left West Kilbride. I also came back to Tully, lost the book, and never did it again until I got this book here, which is called Card College. You can see that there. And this was a book back in the 1990s that I got. And it's a 5-volume book. I've got the 5 volumes, practiced and learned the 5 volumes, and I would say that's the Bible of learning cards. So anybody learning or getting into magic should really have them in their collection. So that was, I can see John's not got them in his collection, but that's another story. He's a video man.
You can't beat DVDs.
Yeah, I like DVDs, and I think DVDs are good for angles and shots that you can practice better probably than the books can. But the thing is, I take my books on holiday. I can go on the plane, can go sit on the beach, whatever. Take the book and still go through it and learn new stuff as well. I'm always learning new stuff and try to get better, of course.
Well, the thing about books is the sheer quantity of information in a book will obviously far exceed that of a DVD. So you've got a lot of quality information. Not always the case, but I mean sometimes.
Depends who's writing the books. There's a lot of bad magic books out there. So that's why if people always say to me, "What books would you buy?" I always say the likes of Card College. But there's other books that are just dreadful. Really, kids should just not be going near the books.
So, do you create your own magic tricks, or is it mainly taking tricks that other people have created and putting your
Mostly
spin on
other
them?
people's tricks and creating them, and you add one bit to it. Because I personally believe every magician does this. A lot of magicians can claim to have a breakthrough method or whatever, but I'm a bit of a historian in magic, and I can go back 100 years and find a book that's got virtually the same method. It's just been tweaked a little bit, and people now are claiming it as their own, which isn't actually quite true. But there are still original things happening. But No, I think everybody kind of steals for each other and influence for each other, which is the same in music and acting and writing. And everybody's got to be influenced by everything if they're into it.
So would you say, your main influences in magic?
Well, again, I've got a couple of books here. I mean, there's a guy, Canadian guy, who's dead now. He died in 1994 or something. It's Di Vernon. He was known as a professor, but he was 98 when he died, and he actually went and lived in the Magic Castle. They actually built a Magic Castle for him in Los Angeles. So he never moved out of there after he went there. I mean, he had a couple of trips. He would come to Scotland, England, sometimes Europe, but once he moved to the castle, that was basically his home. And he really, for me, influenced everybody. Every single, he's probably the greatest natural magician that ever lived. He would take maybe the old methods and he would just tweak them a wee bit and take it to the next level. Especially the Expert at the Card Table book, which is the Bible or card magic. He took it to another level, and nobody's really surpassed him. And this is just one, this is a trilogy of his stuff. And I can sit and read this at 3 and 4 in the morning and still find new stuff in it all the time. So Di Vernon is definitely, well, he was known as a professor. But there's also, as I say, he's Canadian, and the Canadians don't seem to have much people who are getting any acknowledgement in magic, but there you go, he's known as the professor of magic. There's also a Scotsman called Alex Elmsley, and these books are quite hard to get, but so I'm taking them home with me. And he was Scottish, he was born in St Andrews, and this guy was just incredible. The brain he had, this is volume 1 of his 2 volumes. And I've been right through this as well, and there's some classic stuff in that. But unfortunately, he lived with his mum, and his mum took no well. And so he gave up magic to look after his mum. So he wasn't performing and involved in magic so much. But as it turns out, his mum lived at 102 or something. So he got back into magic in the 70s, and when he came back on the scene, everybody was wanting to meet him again, including Di Vernon, who they used to correspond, the both of them. And Vernon rated him for as high as it could go, really. This guy was just incredible. And the Scots, by the way, are right up there in the magic world. They're as good as anybody. Only the French are committed more to magic than anybody. But the Scots can be proud of what they're, for the size of the nation. And even to this day, there's guys, Peter Duffy and Cumbernauld, unknown to the world. He's not a household name. But he's written stuff for just every magician in the world, just incredible.
So and again, like, when it comes to if it's music or magic or anything, right, you get somebody who just revolutionises that, whatever it is. I mean, obviously, when I'm going to go back to myself for a wee second and just say, well, Elvis kind of revolutionised that whole music scene at that time in the 50s. Right? So who do you think revolutionised magic?
Di Vernon, I think.
Di Vernon.
It would have to be, but there's also, you see, there's Houdini as well. Houdini was, people could argue.
He's a big name.
He's probably the most famous magician is Houdini. And he's probably, if you think about the props he was using at the time, he was probably the greatest entertainer. I mean, he was going out the street and climbing up and dangling upside. You get probably locked up for that 50 years before Houdini was doing it,
Get locked up for that.
He used to, but he made it in Britain before he made it abroad. Houdini, and there's footage of him at Waverley Station in Edinburgh, climbing up all these bollards and coming at the top of the train station. So Houdini was a massive influence of magic. But Di Vernon, the professor, put Houdini to his grave, never known how he'd done a trick. And it's probably the most famous magic trick. This is an ambitious card. Houdini just couldn't sleep, because Houdini claimed that if he'd seen a trick 3 times, he would work it out and know how it was done. Di Vernon done it 8 times and the sweat was coming out Houdini's neck and he was ready to die on the spot. So, but he never ever told Houdini how it was done. So he went to his grave never knowing that. But Vernon, for close-up magic, definitely we probably would be doing close-up magic today if it wasn't for the likes of Di Vernon. And there was in the 1930s they had a survey, who's the greatest card man in the world. So they had the top 10, which was an amazing list they had, but Di Vernon was there, he was the number 1. But it wasn't really in order, but he was number 1. And 50 years later they did it again. And he was the only guy, he was still alive, but was still in the top 10. And he was, I mean, to be at the top for so long, I mean, if a boxer or a singer was doing it as long as that, and he did it another 5 or 10 years after that, and died at 98. Incredible talent. There's also Cardini. If you go to YouTube, you'll see Cardini doing the cards for his gloves. He's got the gloves on, popping them into the hat. He was for Wales. He doesn't sound it, but he learned his trade in the First World War in the trenches. And great magician as well. Brother John Hammond, the monk. These are the old guys. I mean, there's Paul Daniels, the modern era, was a great magician. Wayne Dobson, who sadly doesn't perform anymore on the big TV screens. Then you've got the modern guys who develop for magic, like Dynamo. I mean, these guys are influencing a new generation of magicians, so they've got to take it.
You've got people, I think, Dynamo is one of the ones I think that a lot of the young people can relate to, but to go from magic into a different kind of genre, because with David Blaine, he puts a different spin on it, doesn't he? He does something else. Well, he mixes magic with endurance and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but whether it is, well, I don't know how that works here, but is David Blaine like somewhere on your radar? Who do you rate?
I like him, I've met him. I think John's more into David Blaine than I am, but I like him. I think I can watch him, but he's no. If he's on it, watch him, but I wouldn't.
He's quite the pan kind of.
I don't see a lot of charisma in him, but a lot of people like that. It's the mystery and the mystique, so they kind of watch every move that he does. But he's been definitely influential in America.
He kind of threw us a curveball when he wanted to be suspended in a cube for endurance and stuff. So he kind of went in a different direction altogether. But
I'm not really into that kind of stuff. But
it's no magic for me either. No. Me going on record. No.
So, what made you decide that you wanted to go from learning magic to performing magic? And do you remember your first performances?
Well, but I think if you're going to go down this road of entertainment, like Johnny wanted to sing when he was a kid, whatever, you want to perform it.
Mm-hmm.
And magic's the same. At first you think, well, am I going to be good at that after this? But I was practicing 10 hours a day. And I mean, every day, and I was weekends, practice, but I thought, I wouldn't have to go and perform that to see if I'm any good at it. And hopefully meet other magicians, which I've went on to do, and you can sit at the table and hold your own with them all, so it gives you a bit of satisfaction. But first gigs used to be at the pubs, and then I got offered a wedding menstruate, but the first paying gig was in Edinburgh, so that was even better.
Do you remember that one? Was that the one that...
It's a White Horse in Edinburgh. So I got a few beers out of that as well, but that was a great wee gig. And the first trick I did that night, I can still remember it, and it's one of the hardest magic tricks, the cards that you'll do. And like now, I would never think of doing that trick as a first opening trick, because you can be like this, you be shaky. I look back and what was I thinking? And I wasn't even drinking. I didn't think a glass of water. But I thought I'll start with a real classic. But people don't know a classic trick for an average trick. They have to be entertained with the trick, and that's what matters in their mind. You could burst. I mean, I know some technical moves, but the audience don't know that. So if I'd done a self-working trick, it would look the same as the technical trick if it's presented the right way.
Yeah.
And they get the buzz off it. That's all that matters as the person watching the trick.
I can imagine the performance is as important as what you're actually doing.
Oh, aye.
Because yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So what do you think makes a good magician?
Practice. I think I'm a stickler for practice. I still practice every day, probably an hour. First thing in the morning, I always go through my shuffles and my various other shuffles that I can't really talk about. With cards, that is. I mean, this is how you normally shuffle. That probably doesn't look like either. But I practice every day, and I think the audience has got to like you. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you go up to somebody, I'm going to shoot you. If they don't like you, they'll not like your magic.
Aye.
So you're as well just going home. But if you can go out and be nice enough, and never think you're better than anybody when you go to the table, just because you know something they don't, you should never think that you're better than them. Just come across as one of the guests and just do what you've got to do.
It's a great attitude to take on that, definitely. I can just, it reminds me of a story when you're talking about Edinburgh. I done a gig in Edinburgh. This was my first ever paid Elvis gig, and it was a corporate do. And a woman said to me, I spoke to her, she said, Sarah, you booked an Elvis for the night? She said, yeah. She said, where is he? I said, well, it's me. She's like, okay, well, I've got your money here, I'll just give you it at the end. And I was like, right, okay, that's fine, no worries, right? That was a bit of a slap in the face. I digressed a wee bit there.
So do you have any funny stories about any gigs that you've done in the past?
Well, funny and strange, because we did a gig at Archersfield, and
I remember that.
yeah, the golf place. Of course, we're driving, we couldn't find the place. We passed it 3 times over. It was massive. It says Archersfield, but we've never seen it. And but anyway, there was no cars parked there, and none of them goes in. And people were nice enough, big cramped piano and we're having the meal, and you could smoke in the place. You're not meant to be smoking an indoor place, but these people were smoking. So I was like, how's this happening? So I got speaking to this guy, and I was really, no, it was the girl that booked us. I says, what's this all for? I don't ask questions. Which I thought was a bit strange. I mean, all right, well, fair enough. So later on, there was a big game of killer at the snooker there, and we performed. They said, "You want a game?" There's £100 to enter. I don't think so. So there was about £2,000 in the kitty, and the boy comes, listen, as soon as you're entertaining, you two can go in for free. I said, oh, hallelujah. So I goes, right, Brian, up you come. So they left me the hardest shot you could have got at the table. So I thought, and he was next. So I thought, well, if I'm losing a life, he's losing a life. So I just hit it and it went. I potted it. But he had to come up next and he had no chance of potting anything. So I seen them all. They never shouted me back up after that, because I flipped, well, they thought I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my snooker career ended that night in there. But later on I was speaking to a guy, another guy says, well, this time I had about 2 bottles of wine down there. And I said, what are you just doing here? And he said exactly the same as the girl said, don't ask questions. So he said to me, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to ever find out what this is all about. And the guy that was doing the drinks that night, mind, he never spoke a word all night. Just stood, you just couldn't get a bottle of wine. It was very, I don't know, secret, but it was a great night. And of course John got lost in the way home as he normally does. If I close my eyes for 5 minutes, we're usually in south of them. We should be going north.
That's true, I remember that gig very well.
We did a gig a couple of weeks ago at the Furry Friends Hotel, and it's a house for rabbits. The people kept rabbits there. It was a kennel sort of thing for rabbits. And it's the only gig I've done where nobody asked me to pull a rabbit out of that. And I had 50 of them running about my feet. You know? That's the only gig. Every other gig you go, pull a rabbit out, your heart, mister. So,
That's true.
you take them as you get them in.
We obviously know that magic is actually an industry as such, a kind of small industry, but an industry nonetheless, where people, for those of you at home who aren't aware, magicians often sell DVDs and props, and there's a sort of mini industry going on there for magicians teaching other magicians tricks. Brian, how much money have you spent / wasted on magic over the years?
Well, seeing as this has been filmed, and Caroline might see it, I'm maybe better not telling you. Let's say 50 quid roughly.
Good answer.
Give or take a couple of thousand.
Yeah, that's a good answer. What's your thoughts on TV magicians in general, and magicians that use videography and video editing to achieve their tricks rather than sleight of hand and skill?
Yeah, I don't like it. I think there's got to be an art. It is an art. Magic's an art. And just to think you can fool people without using any skill, it's pretty poor. There was a trick I seen on the TV, they call it mentalism, and the girl was blindfolded, and to tell what was out in the audience, somebody was to think a name or a number. They was obtaining a handbag on stage. I'm going, what a load of rubbish. And the people were applauding madly to it, and I thought, that's not entertainment, that's just taking the mickey out of people's intelligence. So I don't like that. Like Dynamo, for example, Dynamo can do close up magic. I've seen him in Dynamo when he was young, but and Dynamo I thought was great. But he's so big now. You know, I mean, can people walk on water? Should we be believing people can walk on water? I don't
thought
think
that
it's
was
healthy.
I thought that was real. Is that not real?
Walking up buildings, come on.
In fairness, I think the video edit in that was quite badly done. Maybe because I'm a magician, I look at some of these effects and I can tell when video editing has been used to achieve tricks. But I think maybe even if I wasn't a magician, I would look at that and go, that looks a bit dodgy. That.
Well, see the water trick, for example, walking across the water.
I'm a part-time theoretical physicist,
Right.
Amateur,
Right.
and looking at some of the stuff, I mean, it's just physically impossible. So straight away your eye goes to, well, that's physically impossible because the water can support his weight. I look at it logically. And
So that's what I'm saying, it should be. But I tried the water effect. I used to go down to Devon every night. But I fell in 50 times and I got the message, right? So I even went on a diet. So then I used the logic. I thought, this doesn't work.
So, what is your favourite effect to perform?
Well, as Johnny was saying, it's like every day is a different. I mean, one song's it can be one day I've got mood you're in. So I've got hundreds. I mean, I do know hundreds of magic tricks, and sometimes there's tricks I know that I've never performed to people, but my wee personal favourites as well. But to pick one, nah, I think it'd be impossible. Too many.
It would probably be the last trick that you would do in the
Yeah.
night, I would guess, if you do one regularly. Because I mean,
Or the one you do before you die.
let's lift the mood.
What was it? The first, I remember seeing Brother John Haman. He was a monk and he did twins. And I thought that was just a brilliant close-up magic trick. And I learned it and I've done it for years. I still do it to this day.
So, do you see a comparison with magicians faking their tricks using video editing, similar to how a singer might mime? Do you see a comparison with there?
It's probably just as bad. Because I think we've all grew up listening to music, and when you get a chance to perform it, you want to play it live. I mean, what's the point of miming? And it's the same with magic. I think if you're doing the trickery with the false camera work and that, you're just looking for adulation that you don't deserve, really. And plus a big fat bank account that you don't deserve either. But that's the jealousy. I mean, if I ever got offered a TV programme, hey, you do all this stuff, it just wouldn't be me that would be doing it. It just doesn't appeal to me.
For those of you that don't know, every year myself and Brian go down to the Blackpool Magic Convention, which essentially is a group of about maybe 3,000 magicians meet up every year, and there's things like lectures and magic dealers and stuff like that. I'm banned for making these movies, but we do these movies every year. We're now done
Magic movies.
Yeah, it's the series is called the Conjurers Convention. It's proven to be pretty popular on YouTube. What's your thoughts on Blackpool Magicians Convention?
The first year I went, it was great. It still is. I still enjoy going. But I went down, so it was all new to me. And over the years, I've got to know a lot of people. Guys from Magic Box, Michael, Clyde, Carol, Graham, and there's other guys for Alakazam, and even you get, other guys coming from America. There's for everywhere, and they end up you just know them, you just drink with them, have a great time. And then John decided to go one year and introduced him at the King Kong Burger. So and he goes, I said, you'll never eat it. But he did, I'll give him his due, but it was lying over the floor in about 30 seconds after his first burp. So
True story.
but he was a wee bit intoxicated as well, so it was his first time. But the actual convention, I thought in recent years the actual acts haven't been as good as previous years. I think that's down to the organisation of it, and there's been a lot of fallouts with the organisation, so hopefully next year will be better because they've got a new team running it, and it'll get maybe a wee kickstart that it really needs. It's been going for 1941 or 42, so we'll keep it going, and it's the biggest in the world. So, and plus you get a couple of pints round the town when you're there.
It's pretty much all it is for me. You know, I don't actually attend the convention anymore.
I still go to the convention.
The Ruskin Hotel.
Aye, yeah.
I've been trying to talk Johnny into going to the convention now
I'll
for
get there one day. I'll get there one day.
5 years.
I'll get there one day. I know. It's February, isn't it?
It's February.
It's
Yeah.
February, right? I'll check with my PA, see if I'm available.
The thing I was saying earlier on about the cards, the first deck of cards I ever bought were Waddington cards. Now I use American cards most of them now. The Spanish cards are good, the French cards are good, but they're awful tough and they take about 3 months to get working. These are automatically ready to work. But the Waddington cards, believe it or not, were actually made in Tulakura. The paper for them was made in Tulakura.
Really?
Yeah, so that was a wee bit of history I found out. So there you go, my first deck was Waddington's, where I didn't live here, but it was the paper came from Tulakura, so I like to give Tulakura a wee bit of credit for helping me on the way, sort of thing. Eh? But the American cards, the bicycles, they're great cards. Not the best, but they're a pretty good deck. But there's decks go up to £300-400 for one deck, but they'll last forever. You can put them in the washing and hang them out the back line, but somebody usually nicks and steals them.
What they're made of paper?
Yeah, 3 layers of paper. That's it. But there's nothing really seeing them. They're just ready to go, see, with that spring. The French and Spanish guys just haven't got that, but they have after 2 or 3 months.
We're now going to see Brian perform some magic through the studio.
Am I getting paid? Well, hello there. I'm obviously buzzed, and I'd like to introduce my good friend Johnny Lee Memphis here. We've never met before, have we?
Well, once or twice.
But seriously, folks, Johnny has not a clue what I'm going to do here. This is a brand new trick that I've never done before, but I'm going to do now. So Johnny's going to give me a hand. I've got a couple of predictions here. Prediction 1 and prediction number 2. Now, Johnny, I want you to name any card in the deck you want.
Any card in the deck?
Any card.
Any card, okay. I think the 7 of Spades.
The 7 of Spades, excellent. I'll just take the 7 of Spades out of the deck if I can find it without my glasses on. 7 of Spades, there you go, 7 of Spades right there. Okay, now on the other side of these cards, there's girls' names on the other side of these cards. You can see there's Judy, there's Jade, Joan, Rita. Every single card's got a different name on it right through the 52 cards, okay? Now I want you to think a number, I would say between 1 and 10. In fact, make it a wee bit better, make it between 1 and 20.
1 and 20, okay,
Yep.
sure.
What number you think of?
15.
15, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay? So if you said a card, you'd have a number, you'd have been a different name or different card.
Absolutely,
Right? So I'm going to give you prediction number 1 here, and I want you to read it out loud, if you can, to the camera.
Okay, this prediction is you will choose Lucy.
Okay, now on the other side of the 7 of Spades, there's a name of a girl,
Okay.
and you can see the girl's name is
It's Lucy.
Lucy. Okay, but that was prediction number 1.
Prediction number 1, yeah.
And they've not been switched. Can you take prediction number 2 and read it out loud?
Yep.
See what it says on
Prediction
there.
number 2 says you will choose the 4 of Hearts.
4 of Hearts. Okay. Now on the other side, we turn the card over. You'll see it is, in fact, the 4 of Hearts. Okay.
Wow. That's amazing.
Now there's 2 ways to do that trick. One with applause and one without.
Okay.
So, just remember that in future. I'm always getting asked if I can cheat at cards, and the answer is probably, but I don't, because you don't want to get caught cheating cards, or you could be minus a few limbs. But I'm going to show you how a professional cheat would cheat at cards. You can shuffle, you can cut, it doesn't make any matter. In fact, I'm going to do this face up so you can follow what I'm doing here. I'm going to take the cards, let me see, I'll cut about there, that's an ace, cut there, and that's 2 aces, straight for a shuffle deck again. We shuffle the cards right there, you can see they're cleanly shuffled.
Cleanly shuffled, yeah.
And we'll just cut right there, that's ace of the diamonds, and then again, you get the 4 aces, and that's what you call cheated at cards. So, Johnny, you want to give me cards?
No.
No? Alright.
Well done, that was good. Well done. Okay.
So, could you just check these cards, Johnny? This is a wee sort of gambling scam that I've come up with.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. It's a
Okay.
50-50. Okay? But you've got to watch the cards. Don't watch there, don't watch there. Keep your eyes on the cards.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to plop this in to my pocket, alright? And I'll leave it in full view so you can sort of see it, alright?
Okay.
Now, you don't know what that is, allegedly. I hope you don't know what it is, or I lose. But this will be the sort of dummy one.
Okay.
Do you think that's a yes, or do you think it's a no?
Well, I'm going to say no on this occasion.
That's what I like to hear. It is a no, because that draws you in.
Okay.
You see, that draws you in. Now we can go for some money.
Okay.
Alright. Let's get that down. Alright. Now, got the yes card and a no card. I can just see that.
Yep,
We're
absolutely.
going to mix them up. You're watching the cards, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, your head's spinning round and round.
Yep.
Right, no there, no there. I'm going to play. No, I'm going to go with this one this time. I think I might fool you with that one. But so, if it's a 50-50. There'll be
It's
a
a
£10
50-50.
on this one.
Okay.
And I'm predicting I'll win this time.
Okay, you're predicting right. Okay.
So it's yes or no.
I'm going to say that is no.
Let's have a look. And you'll see it is in fact yes. You see, folks, it's a yes. So that's the £10 and just imaginary
Okay.
£10 still there. So we've got
Ah.
the yes and the no.
The yes and the no,
Now
yeah.
watch the cards. Don't look there, don't look there. Alright? You normally did. Usually did. Alright? And I place this one on the table. One card in the pocket, one card on the table. Is that yes or no for £20 this time?
Yes.
You sure you're going yes?
I'm going yes.
And you'll see, folks. It's a no. Okay, let's bring this card back into play. Now, I need you to keep watching the cards.
Okay.
It's mine, I'm £20 up here, but I'm going £30 this time.
Absolutely,
Okay?
yep. I've got my wallet
And
here.
the yes and the no cards are there. They're definitely here.
Definitely there,
No
yeah.
switches whatsoever. The cards are always there. Alright. Card goes there. A card goes there for yes or no, £30 or nothing.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I'm going to say yes again.
Yes again, he says. You sure? And you see it is no again. So I've got to be honest, Johnny, you're not too good at this.
I'm not, no,
Right, but
actually
I'm a
not.
generous guy. I'm
I've
going to
been-
go all in here,
I've
right?
been watching this like high
The Elvis accent. Still there. Just imagine there's 60 quid in it this time.
I'm
This is the last
imagining.
attempt.
I'm
And
imagining.
if you win, I will.
Imagine. Can I get one last look at the cards? Is that a chance?
Oh, he doesn't trust me.
There
All
you
right,
go,
you can
okay.
see there's yes and no,
Yes and no.
right here.
Okay, right, thank you.
Now I'm switching the cards. Okay, don't look there, don't look there. Watch right in the middle. This is your last chance, Johnny. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with that. I've got to go with that. For £60 or
Right,
nothing.
this is mine. This is mine. This is mine. Easy. Right, this is definitely yes.
Johnny, I'm sorry to disappoint, but that is a no.
What's going on, man?
So,
Don't understand that at all. Anyway.
it's a hard life. That'll be £60, you know me. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I did say I was letting you off.
Right.
I need to see the trick myself. It's a new trick. Again, this is you've heard of leprechauns, eh?
Yeah.
And where do they come from? Ireland.
Canada.
Well, these ones come from Ireland. So I've got 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4 leprechauns. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I've got the specially made green and white cards, so that we can work out that for Ireland.
Okay.
Okay. Over here, I've got another 1, 2, 3, 4 leprechauns. So I'm going to place one on the table. I'm going to take a leprechaun for here now. Whatever the top leprechaun does,
Mm-hmm.
the leprechauns underneath start to do. You start turn face down.
All right.
You see that all 4 leprechauns just turn face down.
Okay.
So let's take another leprechaun here, alright?
Mhm.
Leprechaun number 2. Whatever the top one does, the one underneath it does. And you'll see all 4 leprechauns turn face up. Now I've got another face down leprechaun. Again, watch closely. Nothing magical. The one underneath it turns face down. Every leprechaun turns the way the leprechaun's face. And this one's face up. Give it a second, and you'll see the one underneath it. All 4 leprechauns turn face up. Now it's at this point, let me see, if I take a snap, one of the leprechauns will turn face down. This one here. If I snap again, another leprechaun turns face down. This one here. If I take these 2 leprechauns here, put one on top, one on the bottom, a little wobble,
Nothing too much happens there. Did you see anything happen?
No.
Watch now, if I pass it through. All the leprechauns change colour into different colours of the rainbow. And what's at the bottom of the rainbow?
A pot of gold.
Pots of gold. And there they are, right there. And that's the story of the leprechauns.
That's amazing, man. That's fantastic. Oh, superb. Oh, very good on that one.
Here's sort of another one. Just mix these up a little bit. The cards, as you can see, I mean, there is no order of cards here. They're all pretty, they're all mixed. Okay, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to pick a card, but I'm going to take 3 cards out of the deck. Is that one for there? Take one for there. Take a card for there. Card for there, and a card for there. I think that's, yeah, that's pretty fair. You don't know what these cards are,
No.
but I do. Well, I hope I do in a minute. But I'm going to ruffle my fingers down, like my thumb down the side of the deck like that. You say stop anytime you want.
Stop.
There? Right
Yeah.
there? Okay, we'll get rid of those. And this card here, the 4 of diamonds. That'll be our card, okay?
Okay.
So, 4 of diamonds is right here. That's card number 1. But that's funny because I've also picked cards, and one of the cards I picked was the 4 of diamonds. If you look at the third card, it's also a 4 of diamonds. And if you look at the fourth card, it's a 4 of diamonds. Now you don't get, or get even, 4 cards that are the same in a card pack. So let's take the 4 of diamonds, the first one here, a snap. You see it changes to black. Okay? Let's take the second 4 of diamonds, right? We'll just take it here, we'll just up my sleeve and snap. It changes to a sort of light blue. So that leaves us these 2 cards here. The 4 of diamonds is there. I pass it through my hand like so. And it turns to here. And of course I've got the final 4 of diamonds sitting right here. The thing is, one of those cards, you can't get four diamonds in the same deck. That's because these cards all come from different decks. So if I turn them over, you'll see every card in the deck's got a different colour in it. Every single one has got a different back. Maybe that explains why the 4 of diamonds in it.
Crazy. Well done, man. That's amazing.
So Johnny, could you just take half of that and just keep the cards face down and shuffle them up like that, so I can't see the faces. That's important that I don't see the faces.
Okay.
But even if you don't want to shuffle, you can just make a straight cut. That will, and you, that's fine. Yeah, professional, eh?
There you go.
That's great. Now take the half that I shuffled.
Okay.
And just again shuffle those cards up. There's no way that I can know the order of these cards. All right.
There's no way you can
Right.
know the order of the cards. There's no way.
So what I want you to do is with this card, the top card here. Can you remember that card? And I'll just show
Yes.
the camera
Yes.
that card. Right, you remember that
Yes.
card?
Yes. Okay.
In the deck. No. Okay. Now there's a card you shuffled again, and can you remember this card?
Yes.
Okay, I'll show the camera again. Remember that card. Okay, let's get rid of it. Into the deck. And so I know it's quite hard. You've got 2 cards to remember, but just try and concentrate on them, and you'll be fine. Okay. So let's take the cards. Let's really mix them up. 1 half face up, 1 half sort of face down. All right. And do that again. And go face up and face down like so. I'm going to cut the deck there, cut the deck there, cut the deck there, and cut the deck there. You've got to admit they're mixed.
They are mixed there.
I mean, I can't mix them any
They're
better
the
than
most
that, to
mixed
be
cards
honest.
I've ever seen.
The best. Well, this is where I've got to sort things out, because if I take this pile, do the magic snap,
Yes.
every card in that pile will be face down,
That's impossible.
right, except for 1 card,
That's
the card that you picked. And the same with this pile. If I take it here and I snap, every card's face down except for your other
That's
card.
impossible.
So what was the name of your 2 cards?
It was the 8 of clubs and the Ace of hearts.
The 8 of clubs and the Ace of hearts. And you'll see the Ace of hearts is the only face-up card in this pile here. And the only card that's face-up in this pile here is the 8 of clubs. The thing is,
That was good, man.
the
Oh
thing
my
is,
goodness.
if I take this 8 of clubs,
Yeah,
you will see it's the only black card amongst all these red cards. And the Ace of Hearts is the only red card amongst all
Oh my
the black
god.
cards. And that's,
Ah. Ah. How
thank you very much. You know, a few years ago, folks, I was in America, and this guy was doing this trick with money, and he used to hand the money over to the bar or the counter of the shop, and then he'd do a runner. But what he'd done is he'd put a wee slit in the money, right? You can see that sort of slit. I can just get my pinky to go through it. I can't even see. I need to put my glasses on. Oh, there it's right. You put a slit in the money, so when you fold the money, it looks like, in your money, that would look like 2 tenors. Now you're up close, Johnny. Does that look like 2 tenors?
That looks like 2 tenors,
Right.
absolutely, yep.
So what you do is you hand it over, and you do a runner. Because if your bill came to £17, you've only got 1 tenner, you've not got enough money. So I said, I'm going to try this. I was in Glasgow one day, goes into a restaurant, never had I only had this tenner on me, so I'm going to try it. I had a big scoff and that, I'm saying, this is great. And I pulled out the old tenner routine. So I handed the money over to the guy he handed me a bill for about $18.50. I says, he goes, sir, he goes, oh, he says, hey, I seen that in America years ago. I went, no, what's the chances of that? He says, listen, pal, if you've not got the money, you need to go into the kitchen and speak to Big Bruno about payment.
Do the dishes.
Do the dishes, maybe even lose a couple of limbs. And so I says, wait a minute, I says, I'm a magician. I remembered, if I take these 2 tenors, right, and I flick them like so, and I change that into a £20 note with no slit in the middle, well, I just turned that, handed it over to the guy, and I've done a runner right out of the pub, and that's the end of that story.